Oh dear, I'm still laughing. Welcome to Arsenal above all. Been a good weekend, hasn't it?
Listening
Do
on
not
podcast.
adjust your set, and if you're not watching on telly, you can probably see there's an advert for the Tottenham Hotspur 28 games from glory. 3 weeks at the top. Highline FC, whatever you want to call it. It's all turned Spursy for them again, which we said on this podcast a while ago. So if you listen to us, you knew what was coming. I've got Neil and Steve with me tonight, I should say, to talk about the straightforward win yesterday against Burnley and the usual bits and pieces. We'll be going through it. Steve was there, so it'd be good to get some of his insight in terms of what he saw off the ball and all the rest before we head into another boring international break. But before all of that, of course, let's go. Welcome to the show. Hello, Neil. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I can't really top your introduction there, but it was a great weekend, wasn't it? Barring maybe Liverpool's win, but other than that, good results. So couldn't be happier, Michael. And a good table this time, a good, honest table.
Yeah. You won't be, like I said, you won't be making that mistake again.
No,
That's it. You're done, mate. You're done. Thanks for your time as always. And I've got Steve Osakwe with me. They call me Stepney. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good, mate. Good weekend, and first one for my son as well, kid too. He was out there representing, so yeah, really good.
Good stuff. Thanks for your time and thanks for coming on as always. So, gents, another win, which followed up another comfortable, straightforward win against Sevilla in the Champions League, which was almost guaranteed our progression to the knockout stage. We just need obviously another point. But I'll start with you, Neil. The lineup again, as always seems to be the case. There always seems to be a change, and it always seems to be someone dropping out via injury between the previous game and this one. And obviously, this time it was Steve's number one, Ben White. And I'll tell you, I had some interesting quotes at the end of the game when he said that he looked like he was carrying something for some time, and the way that White is, he just wants to play. But what was your thoughts on the lineup and just how that kind of reflected into the performance? Because obviously I'll go to Steve, and obviously he was there. Obviously the vibe, I imagine, would have been a bit up in the stadium because of what happened to Tottenham against Wolves, just before our game. But what was your thoughts on the lineup and just the performance and how we kind of were up against that Burnley sort of low block again?
Yeah, I think obviously the Burnley have come in with a lot of teams have been doing this season to us, because they know that we're so good in our prowess and can hurt teams very, very quickly if they don't counter us with a low block. So it was another one of those where it potentially could have been a very frustrating game for us. Burnley are near the bottom of the table. They haven't had that much of a prosperous season, should we say? And it could have been a frustrating one, but I think we were very professional. We were patient, and the outcome, it turned out to be the one we all hoped for and all got. So that was the positives from it. The lineup. So this is where I think we've said on previous pods, our defence is not such a concern when we have these missing players, because we've got a very varied, very flexible and quite a good defensive lineup where we can shuffle players around, even if it's just to give them a rest. or interchanged in between different competitions, etc. And it showed, end of the day, we've got the likes of Tomiyasu that can come in. We've got Kirill that can come in. Zinchenko, albeit I think he should be playing in the middle, can be defensive. And, when you got players like Saliba and Gabriel's caliber, we're a hard and a tough nut to break down. It shows in the stats anyway. We're defending well. I think that was kind of the only blip, their goal. But apart from that, even the last few games where it's been touch and go, even if you can even count the Newcastle goal, defensively we weren't doing too badly. That goal, it wasn't a goal, and apart from maybe a mistake from Rayo for being off position, etc., and Ben White not playing to the whistle. Other than that, I think defensively we're very, very solid. So for me, I'll be quite honest with you guys. When things changed in the defence, I'm not too worried. I'm probably more concerned further up the pitch. But when it comes to defensive changes, because I think they're all very capable, they're all very flexible, and they can help each other out. I don't really have any issues at all there. Going forward into the midfield, obviously we've got Kai. All right, let me go to the front line because that's easy. For me, I love that. I mean, I don't even mind having Martinelli in the middle and Trossard on the left, but whatever the combination is with those three, I have no issues with it at all. I was a little bit concerned about Saka, his form, whether he's a bit burnt out. But then, he puts a performance in like he did yesterday, and you're thinking, every time I think it, he proves me wrong. It's ridiculous. He could have scored 2 or 3 actually, and he's always involved in the numbers, isn't he? He's provided 6. All 6 goals Trossard have been Saka assists. You can't not play him, can you? No matter how much we want him to rest, and how much we're concerned, especially Jack from Purely, about getting a replacement in for him when he's can have a rest, or if he goes missing, then he proves you wrong. I don't know what he's made of. He's something else. That guy. He's something else. But so again, forward. So it's really the midfield, and you think, Kai, what's his purpose? What's his identity? What's his function? What's his role? I'll be honest with you. I have backed him from day one. I have. I will do that with all our players. But even I'm struggling. And he has put in a couple of okay average performances, or you can see glimmers of what he can give, even off the ball. He has got that physical strength where he can hold off players. But you've got to be finishing better. And I think it's just little things like that. I think, for me, still, to this day, I will say his best performances for us has been when he's been at number 9, where he was number 9 at the Community Shield, and he came on as a sub against City as a number 9, and I thought he was very effective there. I think that's his best position, but is he going to be playing? Is that part of Arteta's plans? I don't think so. I think his plans are for him are in the midfield, and for me, it's not quite working yet. Maybe I'm being hard on him. I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm not saying he's completely rubbish, but I don't see the impact that we've seen from other players that have contributed to this team. I don't quite see that from him, unless I'm missing something. Maybe I'm no expert, but again, Odegaard was missing. But it's nice that we can have players come in. Rice is formidable. He's absolutely amazing. It's just so good. I don't know. We're so blessed and lucky to have him. I think Jorginho hasn't been too bad in the last 2-3 games. That pass against Sevilla. Oh my God, that was a dream. He's starting to get a bit more involved, and I think for a short-term fix, Jorginho is the right player. So overall, I wasn't too displeased, and I've gone on for far too long, so I'm going to shut up now. But whatever we did, I think it worked, and we got the result we needed at the end.
No, I totally agree. I mean, as Neil touched on, it's great that players are coming, Steve, and we've continued to get results. Obviously, you've seen other teams. You've seen again Tottenham. They've had a couple of players missing. They've gone down. Lost their last 2 games. Newcastle, big talk about them missing so many players, so much so that you saw Kieran Trippier kicking off with a couple of the fans about them losing 2 games in a row. So yes, I mean it's touching on that squad, the whole squad game, the fact that we have options. We'll talk about it later, but one of those options have been taken away with Vieira's red card, and that kind of takes away an option that Arteta has going forward. But also the fact that, one thing we may have to be a little bit concerned about, we had 3 academy kids on the bench yesterday. So that's something that it's good to see maybe one on there, in the circumstances, and then maybe you can throw them on when you're comfortable. But when you've got 3 on there, that kind of shows you that maybe international breaks come at the right time. We can get a few players back. But talking on the atmosphere, because you was there, Steve, if we go back to it, do you think, obviously, there's been talk about the atmosphere is not the same as it was last season, because last season was a bit of a ride, didn't it? Everyone was on a ride and everyone was enjoying it. You had the Ashburton army who were in the clock end. There was a lot more of them. There's been a reduced number this year. What did you feel what it was like, obviously, being there? Because a lot of people are saying, which I think is, and I think Neil's mentioned it before, the expectation is there. So you can't really enjoy it because you know how much rides on every single goal and every single point you get, because what we're up against this machine. If you draw a game, it's almost like a loss now. Almost feels like a loss because that you think they're just going to keep on this relentless run. But do you think that's why maybe the atmosphere is tempered a little bit, because we all are, 3 of us are expecting us to challenge for the title now. So it isn't like it's a free hit. It is. We need to, kind of follow through and try and go that one step further. But what was it like being there yesterday, and how did that transmit a little bit maybe to the first half performance?
Well, we arrived just before, literally about 3 minutes before the first goal the Spuds conceded anyway. So we arrived just before that one. So we walk in, I'm speaking to one of the stewards, supervisors that I know, and all you hear is, yeah. So that got people happy. We carry on talking. We make our way to the upper tier after a little bit, after speaking to another one of our friends, one of the assessors, and then go up to the upper tier. And again, the second goal goes in, and you sort of go, okay, well, that's going to hopefully set the tone for the afternoon. Before the game, I had a few mates asking me what they thought it was going to be like. I said, look, it's going to be a chess game. You've got somebody that was coached under Pep Guardiola, which is Vincent Kompany as a player, and you've got somebody that worked alongside him as a coach, which is Mikel Arteta. So there would have been a lot of thinking, a lot of chess pieces moving in order to. Chess, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was never going to be that exciting game where it's going to be, like some of the games that have been happening recently with the 4-4s and the 5-4s and the 4-1s and whatever else. It was never going to be that sort of game, to be honest. It was always going to be a chess game. It was all about us being patient and sticking to it. The atmosphere itself, it's not like last season, but it's, as you said, Mike, it's that expectation. It's that level of, right, we need to be able to keep it calm enough, but give the team enough encouragement at the same time. And it's just waiting for that first goal. Even though we scored the first goal, you do sort of go, we're going to give them a chance at some point. And, true to form, they did get their first goal as well. But the atmosphere in general was all right. It's a bit more tense, I want to say. I don't want to say it's like tense, but as you said, it's that expectation of just wanting to get that first goal, wanting to get that goal to lift everybody. And reducing the Ashburton army, I understand the reasons for it, and there's the security reasons for it and stuff like that. It has taken that bit of edge off around the stadium as well. Yesterday was quite a cold day as well, so people were naturally a bit more quiet, I guess. So just you're not as when it's the sun shining, you're all like happy. When it's cold, everything's a bit more like so but. No, it was good. Just to touch on the lineup, I think just it's a difficult one. Mm. I would like to, like Neil said, and like everybody else has said before, watching Havertz from the top, from in the upper tier, watching him from the upper tier, I felt sorry for him. He looked lost amongst that team. He looks lost, and it's because he doesn't know where he fits in. And when you've got a play like that, he's trying to fit in. Credit to him, he is trying to fit in, but he doesn't really know his place because he's not one or the other. It's difficult for him. Everybody else is gelling. Everybody else is connecting, and he looks like the spare wheel that somebody's just put on and gone, look, we've got to put a spare wheel on. It's not going to do. It'll be okay because we've got a spare wheel in there, but it's not going to do what is needed. He looked like the spare wheel.
It's frustrating, right? Because if everyone was fit, we've got 4 or 5 main first teamers out. Jesus, Odegaard, White now, Partey. I think that's it. So he kind of wouldn't be starting if everybody was fit. So he's got, Arteta's kind of got to persevere with him now, especially with Vieira shooting himself in the foot. Don't know if ESR is going to be fit after the international break. It doesn't look like it may be. But yeah, it seems to me that there were elements. There was the chance when he was played through in the first half, and he's running through on goal and he slips it out left, and it's not even a pass with that much conviction. It should have hit Martinelli, but when it went shorter to Trossard, I think it was, and it was like, there's just no conviction behind it really. And it's funny because in the Newcastle game, I think I saw something just earlier, and obviously watched the game, but there was a couple of clips, and when you clip it together, you can see that the guy had a decent game. He was doing a lot of decent bits and pieces, but it's like he's taking 2 steps back and 1 step forward. There were occasions yesterday where he was running into Saka and he was just blocking his path on certain occasions. It's like, what is he doing? He's like, and there was an instance where that same instance there where he was through on goal and he played that kind of weak pass. And he kind of hears the groans of the fans because we want him to do something with it, and then he just runs into an offside position, and he's just like it's like his concentration has gone. If you watch it back, it's just like if the ball comes in, they're just going to call you offside straight away. It's like he's just not seems to be focused. And that guy, who's I think he's been promoted to assistant coach now. I'll take his assistant. Is it Carlos Cuesta? The guy who helped with the guys, a lot of the players who had the one-to-one chats with the players in the All or Nothing documentary. I think he's got a lot of work to do with him. He needs to keep chipping away at him because there's something there. There's obviously something there, but there's an inhibitor, and he needs to break it. It's like the flipping Clone Wars. It's like the clone stormtroopers. He needs like Ahsoka in there to go and break the inhibitor chip out of his head and get him functioning again. Because there's a player there, but he just looks like he's just so sort of. It's almost like he realizes, I'm at a big club now. I know what the fan base is like and everything, and he's just shook a little bit. Chelsea, he got grief and stuff, but. Yeah, I think the fact that he's going to persevere with me has to. He hasn't got any other options. He's going to probably, it's going to probably be hard to kind of watch still over the next couple of games. But hopefully, he turns the corner. So we go back to the game, and we go 1-0 up with Zinchenko, who did his best. I think you mentioned earlier as well. I think it's come to the point now that you've got to kind of fit him in the team for that creative spark that he provides, because he was the one that was trying to play those passes. He was popping on the left and right, but he pops across over to it's like he's aiming for Havertz, but Saka pops up and knocks it back to get that assist for Trossard. And there's a stat saying that he's scored the most goals, in 600 minutes or something like that for the Arsenal players over that same time period. So again, it just proves his numbers, his production. That when he does play, obviously there's been a couple of times where he's starting and he's not played well, like the West Ham game, but who played well in that game? But again, it just shows you how we've really. Done really well to get this player in, and he just seems to just come in and is just happy to play. You haven't heard him moan or anything like that. We haven't seen his so-called bad attitude, which De Zerbi was saying that he had. But no, a great moment for him. Even though it's a painful one, to get the 1,000th goal now for at the Emirates Stadium.
Yeah, I'm so delighted for him. I think on one of the Arsenal posts, I just said I couldn't be happier. Fully deserves it. I'm so glad he's got the 1,000th. I think Arteta's got the 500th, hasn't he? So it's quite nice that it's all within the same setup at the moment, that they've got the 500th and 1,000th respectively. He's just too important. It's a shame that when Jesus is fit, he gets sidelined, which is, I can understand it, because Jesus is a tremendous player. He was showing glimpses of what he was like when he first came on board with us. Unfortunately, he gets injured in that same game, which is it's just our luck, isn't it, with injuries? It's just ridiculous the way we get not just injuries, but always it seems like to key players. And I was so worried when he was down. I mean, the crowd were almost like reluctant to celebrate, because they're all of a sudden more concerned about what's happened to him. And I thought, has he dislocated his shoulder? Has he broken something? I thought, if we lose him now and Jesus is out, we are now going to struggle up front a little bit. It's who we got left to fill those gaps. But thankfully, he's made of sterner stuff, and he's made of strong stuff. Don't know what it is. And he was running back on the pitch after the second half. It was just a delight to see. But he adds too much. He as I said countless times, we got him in January. It's almost not even a year that he's been with us, and he's already contributed so much. And that's with big summer break in between as well. He did have a not a great game at West Ham, but like you said, who didn't? It was unfair to judge him on just that, because I think up to that game he hadn't had many minutes, had he? We would have been crying out. So I also put that down to the fact that he hasn't had much game time, and you can't expect a player who's been sitting on the bench waiting for a chance, then just to turn it on when everyone else isn't really flowing themselves. But you can see what he offers. He can move. He moves around so well in between the left and the middle, and he's kind of a Jesus player as well, if you like, because he's a little bit unpredictable. He's slightly different to Martinelli. You know what he's going to do. He's going to dart down the left. Yeah. He's going to cut inside, or he's going to try and provide a cross, or whatever it is. But with Trossard, he's more can't pinpoint him really in that left and middle position, and he's fast as well. He's quicker than you think he is. That's the good thing I like about him. Yeah. But he was willing to risk his own self for that goal. He put himself in line for the good of the team, and I love that. Because I can't, not many players might risk doing that, because that could have been a really bad injury, could have. But he risked it. But you got to admit, you got to admire Zinchenko, because he was doing that all game. He was finding that pass. He was into the box. He was giving that creative element, which we're missing because Odegaard is injured. So let's give a shout out to him, because I think he's done really well yesterday. To be fair to him, I think he's had some of the best stats as well. Of the whole Arsenal team. Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. And then Saka, he rose above everyone for that assist, didn't he?
That was a prize. Yeah.
So, you can sit here and say Saka's not doing what he was doing last season, but look at his numbers. It's just, oh, man, I don't know what else to say, but I'm so pleased for Trossard. So happy for him.
Yeah. I think now, I totally agree. I think now, Steve, the fact that Trossard is, done so well the last couple of games, is that kind of put Eddie out in the cold a little bit. Because the fact is, as Neil said, he almost replicates what Jesus does to a certain extent. He can't hold the ball up as well as Jesus does, because of the strength factor of it. He's really strong, Jesus, and he can occasionally, beat people in the air. But I think the fact that he can he kind of switches with Martinelli, allows Martinelli in, which a lot of us, one particular individual here, wants to see Martinelli as that centre forward. So there's that option as well. But what's your thoughts on that as well? I mean, is it horses for courses, or we've got Brentford next when we resume, or do you just stick with Trossard all the way through until Jesus comes back into the equation?
Yeah, you've got to stick with Trossard. I said, watching it, Zinchenko yesterday, by far one of his best games I've seen for us. He was immense. And even before his goal, he was just everywhere. He was just doing bits. And Neil touched on it earlier with players playing, and it's something that I've always talked about giving players minutes, making them feel involved in the team, getting them, making sure that if somebody comes out, that you've got somebody that's been playing 10, 20 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time every single game or every other game, just so that they're up to speed. That means that when if a player does get injured, or if you want to rest a player for a game, or if the tactics mean that you need somebody else for a game, the player that's coming in is not cold. Like I said, there's nothing worse. Like, people will talk about, they'll say, Reece Nelson, for example, he's too inconsistent, because he's not consistently playing. Yesterday was the first time, probably not forced, although he was kind of limping off a little bit, but the first time when you go, oh right, he's actually just going to take Saka off. He's not going to just keep him on. And we're going into an international break. Do you know what I mean? He won't do that if it was a Champions League game, but he's taking him off and gone, and you sort of go, oh right, how long? There's 10 minutes left. He's taking Saka off. It's crazy. But you have to start with Trossard. The front three, as Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka, work a lot better than Nketiah, Saka, and Martinelli. I don't know why that is. It's just certain styles suit each other. It's the same when Jesus plays. He allows Martinelli and Saka to do a bit more in terms of getting in with the goals and stuff like that as well. So that's why when he's not scoring, nobody misses it, because you go, yeah, but everybody else is scoring. So that's what he's doing. He's forcing those mistakes from the defenders and the keeper and stuff like that, putting that pressure on so that those guys can get in and be quick. You got to stick with. I mean, you got to stick with Trossard. I mean, even if you look at Jorginho in the middle, the Seville game, it was that pass, wasn't it? It was that pass. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But before that, we were going, oh, what's he doing? Because remember the back pass, and you sort of go, he's giving that away. He's giving them a goal there. It's because he wasn't playing. And you're going, oh yeah, you've got to be professional, and you've got to train hard and blah blah blah. These guys are training hard, but when you're not playing, that contact that is different from a game situation, that intensity, that thought process that sharpens the mind a little bit more. You don't get that in training. You get that from games, and that's why you just need to make sure that players are ticking over and going, right, I've got 5 subs that I can make. I'm going to try and make all 5 subs, and I'm going to try and get as many minutes as possible. And that way, when you're bringing in players and going, okay, I'm going to rest Saka you won't rest Saka, but if you have to rest him, you go, right, I can do it for this game. And I know that in the previous 3 games, for example, Reece Nelson has played 45 minutes, a good 45, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever it may be, so that he's come in and he's felt that he's been part of the last 3 games, so that if I put him in now, he's just going to come in and perform. And
I think that's what was happening at the start of the season, because I think that's when Vieira was coming in and doing what he was doing, and Trossard was doing it as well. When he was coming in, he was contributing as well. So I think there seems to be a little bit of a fall off for that from Arteta, but I think he's probably seen what happened last year, and we're not playing as well as we did play last season. But I think part of that is because of other teams have watched us, right? It's like NFL analogy. You've got all these offensive coaches and defensive coordinators, and all they do is watch the film of all the plays and the movements of what the opposition they've got to play. So they want to be, one step ahead. And the exact same thing is happening with us. Last season, it was, like I said, it was a bit of a ride. It was a roller coaster. We didn't know what was going to happen. We was enjoying it. Teams came to the Emirates and were a bit more open than they were last season, because they probably thought that, well, this isn't the Arsenal. And it wasn't until we got to Christmas and maybe a little bit beyond where teams came and thought, oh, all right, these guys are serious. And you can see that now with the way teams are set up. Everyone's come there with, all these, even City to a certain extent. They didn't come out the blocks, and they kept it very conservative and made sure that they didn't want to get blown out of the water or stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that was a disappointing thing to start the second half, Neil, where we didn't seem to wake up, and obviously they got back into it with that goal, and I think people saying it was a foul on Tomiyasu. Yes, I think the guy was pulling his shirt, and Tomiyasu was pulling his shirt to start off with, a bit like the penalty today for City. Haaland pulls his Cucurella's shirt, but then at the end it looks like Cucurella's pulling it more, and he gets the penalty. Whereas the other way around, I think Tomiyasu pulled his shirt slightly, but then the guy had more of his shirt in the box. But obviously, Michael Oliver, who loves us as we know, didn't decide to go to VAR or whatever for that. That was this disappointing thing. That was the only blemish, that we didn't keep a clean sheet, because goal difference I think is going to be massive, and that reflects in the table tonight. We sit third because Liverpool have got the +1 on us in terms of goal difference. But obviously, come off the hour, come off the man, or I should say, an average French centre back. Which people have been saying. This man, I mean, they said that Henry was the king of Highbury. So it looks like another Frenchman. I mean, he might be the king of the Emirates. It looks like he's a unit. But it was great to see him get off the mark, wasn't it, Neil? And to back up another pretty special performance, bar one little mistake. But what did you think of him yesterday?
If you ask me what I thought of him, we'll be here for 5 days, I think. Because there are not enough good words or positive words. I think I'm sickened by our ex-player Gallas and Desai making those comments that he's not world class, stroke average. I find that quite insulting. I don't know whether it's jealousy. The man is world class. I saw it right from the start, actually, and I'm not trying to make myself feel good about it and feel vindicated. But there's certain qualities you could see in him very early doors. That he's so deceptive in the way he plays, which I think is what is catching so many people out. You think that he's going to be either too slow or he's not going to be able to handle it. A classic example was at the Newcastle game. He had 3 players on him, and you thought, oh my God, he's in trouble here. And without even breaking a sweat, the way he just took them all out. And not only did that, and it's not like he just booted the ball out of play, he progressed the ball. He's got the wits about him to actually turn it into an attack or a possible attack. And he's just supreme. That's the only way I can describe him. He's supreme. For me, he's the best defender in the league, without a doubt. And I'd go as far as probably arguably in the top 3 in the world at the moment, because I mean, all right, I'm blinkered. I'm probably just being biased because I'm an Arsenal fan, and I admitted to you probably, Michael, that I don't watch anything pretty much outside of Arsenal. But I think that's not a bad statement. It's a fair statement, isn't it? That he's probably in the top 5, maybe in the world at the moment. And to say that he's not world class is just, I find that insulting. They might be saying it because he's not played in the bigger stages and whatnot, but he should be. That's not his fault, is it? It's not his fault. He can only play who he's with and whatever team he's in. But every time he's asked a question, he answers it with such ease. He makes the game look easy, and it's not easy. You guys have played at levels, and it's not easy. And it's just finesse. It's just graceful. He's just got everything about him, and he's fast. That's the deceptive thing. He's so quick. The way he can get back at defenders. And even if he makes some mistakes, 9 out of 10 times he'll correct it, or he'll make it difficult and give the other defenders an opportunity to correct it. He's just so good. And then for that goal, I mean, I've got to give a shout out to Rice, because I noticed on quite a few of our set plays, he was really giving the goalie a hard time. It was basically trapping him. I thought that was a very clever ploy from Rice. Rice is a clever player. He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. But in this particular instance for the goal, you see Saliba way off, and all of a sudden he's come behind him, unbeknownst to the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper can't do nothing about it. He's got this monster in front of him. He's got Thanos in front of him. I can't even get my hands up because he's probably just overawed by him. It's like, oh my God. He's probably just looking at him saying, oh, how great this man is. I don't even want to put my hands up to try and catch the ball. He made it look so easy, didn't he? And it was nice for Trossard to get an assist, and it was just great that we responded so quickly, because that was a bit of a letdown. It was a blemish. I have to say, I think it was the attacker basically held Zinchenko off, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that? So it is what it is. It was I think it got a deflection as well off Gabriel, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
it was unwelcome, but at the end of the day, the fact that we responded within 3 minutes, am I right? 2-3 minutes. That again is another testament to the change in our character, because on any other day, 2-3 seasons ago or further back, our heads would have dropped. Because we patiently worked out a way to get past their defence, to get that lead on 3-4 years ago, or even 2 seasons ago. Then all of a sudden they come back, and you're like, oh God, all that hard work gone for nothing. The heads would have dropped, and it could have been a very different story. This time you're like, all right, okay, they've scored. So what? We'll go and get one back at the other end. So fast. And I think once that goal went in, there was only ever going to be one outcome. Yeah. And that's how important it was. But Saliba, King, I'd go further than King. But I don't want to insult Dennis Bergkamp, because Dennis Bergkamp is the god.
maybe not King, or maybe Emperor of the Emirates. Maybe might be a good thing. But yeah, Steve as well. I think Arteta said in his press conference later about, because of the low blocks that we face being so big at, or set pieces being vital, being able to use that to, get a free chance to have an attack on goal, to get around that low block. And also it's great that I think there was one instance where I think Saliba slipped up, or a couple of instances, one in the first half, one in the second half. I think that Raya made a fantastic save. So we've got to give him credit for that, because obviously he's been getting it in the neck a little bit. And also the second half, I think Gabriel came and got in the way and made a good clearance as well. So there's always that part of the partnership, which that's why they seem to work so well, because when one does something, the other kind of helps out and stuff like that. But yeah, moving on, Steve, to the goal which kind of clinched it. With the little Ukrainian, as you mentioned earlier, having a superb game, and capped it off with a goal and technique that I think Mr. Miyagi would be happy with. Karate Kid settings, man. Karate Kid.
Can I just interrupt you very quickly? You showed that picture. It reminds me of the Dennis Bergkamp statue.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, but amazing goal. What was the vibe like in the stadium when that went in? It was like, okay, that's it, game done.
And, you know what? It's a funny one, because I think people were just more shocked, because you saw sometimes some goals just happen in slow motion, and you can just kind of see something playing out, and then it's and yeah. Is you sort of, I said, I'm looking at it from the upper tier, so you sort of see him just jump up in the air and hit the ball, and you go, "What? It's in!" And you go, "It looked beautiful from above." I'm going to say it looked like a beautiful shot, and he capped off a top performance from him. First goal at the Emirates for him as well. He must have been buzzing. He must have been buzzing, because he hit that so sweet. I mean, he probably won't hit a better one than that anytime soon. It's one of the ones where, we've all done it out of park. We've all done it out of park when there's no pressure on. We've all done it in like a game of headers and volleys or whatever, when there's no pressure on, and you just happen to hit it, and you know as soon as you've hit it, it's going in, because you've hit it on a sweet part of your foot. And I think that was the case with that goal. Super happy for him, because even defensively he was good yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Even defensively he was sound. Like I said, definitely one of his best performances for us. He should be very proud of that. And wow, mate, it was a beautiful goal. Like I said, it was just for a split moment you go, because he's hit it, and then it goes in. You're like, it was mad. And then obviously the song played, and we were just like, yeah, okay, Zinchenko.
Oh, great, yeah, great technique, great finish. And so I'll stick with you, Steve. Obviously, the red card. A lot of debate about it. What was your thoughts on it? Obviously, seeing it from the distance that you were in the stadium, obviously, you may not have seen it that clearly. There was a bit of a gasp from when it first happened, but What do you think? Do you think it was fair, or do you think Michael Oliver was a bit too quick to get his red card out for an Arsenal player again? Because it's funny how he was the same ref for the Man City game that deemed the Kovacic's 2 tackles not deemed of a red card, and the same referee, as we all know, go down in folklore, was the one that gave 2 yellow cards to Martinelli in the space of 10 seconds. But yeah, he got his red card out straight away for that one. So what did you think of that?
Like I said, you know what? I was actually watching it at the time, and I just went, and when things happen, you go, it's not done on purpose. Like, that's clearly accidental. There's no malice in it. And I know they don't look at that. And look, the 2 examples you just used there was the Martinelli one, where it's like, okay, yellow card. In the Man City game, it was, he doesn't want to give red cards out straight away and blah blah blah. So you're making an excuse for him because he does have previous form.
Yeah,
you're making an excuse for him, and then you go, I said, there's no malice in it. There's absolutely zero malice in it. Yes, it's high. So yes, by the letter of the law, look, it's a red card, isn't it? But at the time, I was just like, but that's accidental. I think I've actually recorded myself saying it. It looked accidental. It didn't look like a malicious tackle. It didn't look like it was anything other than, like, one player going for the ball, and the other player was trying to just get the ball, if you see what I mean. So one player he couldn't have moved his leg out even if he tried, because he was going for the ball to try and nick it. And as the the Burnley player was going in to try and get his whole leg and body, and it was just unfortunate. But yeah, look, we knew it was Michael Oliver. We knew it was a red card because he was so quick to get it out. He was just like boom. But he's not that type of ref. He's not that type of ref. He's he's not that type of ref. He doesn't like to. He likes to keep 11 players on the pitch. He doesn't like to just give out red cards. He's not. He understands. He's a northern lad and all that sort of stuff and blah blah blah. We don't get good refs anyway, so it's all right.
Yeah, it was just nonsense, really. When you slow it down and look in slow motion stills, it looks like it's a high tackle, and stuff. But what's your thoughts, Neil? Do you think it's the same? No, it's just he's looked at the badge, as Melvin has said. He in the past, refs look at the badge, and not at what actually is going on.
I think we're definitely at the wrong end of it. I really do believe that. I think that ref could those tackles against Odegaard and Declan Rice, respectively, could have been catastrophic. They could have been season-ending, could have been potentially career-ending, and he gave nothing at all. The farcical ones with Martinelli, I'll never forget that. It was under 9 seconds, or was it 10 seconds between each card? I mean, what's he doing? He doesn't even give him the chance, the guy, to get running again. I mean, what are you actually doing? And yet this one, I think there is definitely some of that. I think I agree completely with Steve, and I think it's a combination of it being the letter of the law. It's obviously unfortunate. I don't think there was any malice or intent in there at all. I think it was just unfortunate, and he's just another victim of what's going on. But yes, letter of the law, yes, I would say so. But then you look at all the bad decisions that have gone against us in the last God knows how long, and you think, this is just so unfair. Why can't they take a view once on one of our maybe mistimed tackles or accidental tackles and then let it fly? They won't. So yes, I completely concur with what Stephen said there.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It seemed like it was a case of a PGMOL. Let's try and get something back. Stick one on them really after what Arteta said last week, and the fallout from that, exposing them really for their incompetence or worse, or whatever it may be. And the fact that it seems like a few managers have taken Arteta's lead. Same managers who a week ago were pretty much saying, it's all right, VAR's all right, and no problem. Certain individuals or pundits who say, you can't criticise VAR, it's wrong, it's dangerous. Literally midweek, when their beloved team, Liverpool, get a bad decision, VAR's a disgrace. it's this and that, complaining, So yeah, life comes at you fast, man. It's amazing, in just 3 days, people were saying the complete opposite. And you saw tonight, some people may have saw tonight with Pochettino getting a yellow card, marching on to the pitch and having a go at the ref. Literally last week he was saying, "No, VAR's fine. There's no problem with it. It's don't know what Arteta's talking about." And De Zerbi as well, when he said in his press conference, I only like I don't like 80% of the referees in England. In England, he doesn't like the way they operate, especially with VAR. He says VAR pretty much when it goes to VAR, the right decision is made. But he seems like when it's VAR is used here, he just doesn't know what's going to happen, and we've seen it. We've been the victims of it. Apparently, they had a panel, which I think had 2 ex-players and 1 ex official and 2 others from PGML went through the incidents against Newcastle, and they all agreed that Kai Havertz should have got a red card. They all agreed, said, "Yeah, we should have got a red card for that." So that decision was wrong. But it was 3-2 split that said Guimaraes' elbow forearm smash was like the right decision. So I think 3 of them said it was right that he shouldn't have got a card, and 2 of them said yeah, he should have got. So that's what we're up against. That's what we're up against when you're looking at things like that. When you think it's cut and dried, that should have been red. But there's people thinking, "Oh, no, it's all right." And obviously, we had a goal disallowed yesterday for a push, didn't we? When Saka pushed,
it was clear.
Yeah.
Said it.
The defender didn't complain. If you watched it again, the defender doesn't do anything. He thinks, "All right, I've just gone up with someone." But yeah, that goal was disallowed. Exactly the same as last week. So it's you could say it's a foul, but you just want the consistency. That's the thing. Literally a week later, a similar situation happens, and they give it the other way. So yeah, it's just mad. And it's funny they haven't fined Arteta yet, or they haven't suspended him yet, but they haven't said anything. So I do wonder if they kind of try and quietly sweep this under the carpet, and because they've been shown up, because they've been shown what they're all about. So yeah, what about what happens next, guys? With obviously we've got the international break, and we've got obviously a big run of games. We've got December to come, obviously, with all those games that are to come. Neil, what you're hoping for everyone to come back fit from international break, a few players to come back from off the injury table, Odegaard and stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens against Brentford, because pretty much Ramsdale is going to have to play that game because of David Raya. Do you think that's going to be? It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of the game. His reactions. Is it going to be pretty prolonged waving to the fans at the end of that, as like a wave goodbye, or do you think he's going to stick around for the rest of the season?
Oh God, a couple of questions there. So I think first and foremost, we do need some of the players to come back, because obviously now Fabio's banned for 3 games. So, we haven't got him to fill in. If ordinarily we would have had him. So I hope Odegaard comes back fit. I hope it's maybe he is not too far off, but they just don't want him going on international duty, which is great then, because we're now playing that game. We're finally, after so long, we never used to play it. We say, yeah, all our players are fit, have them, take them. For them all to go and get injured and come back injured or whatnot. So I think I'm hoping that Odegaard will be back, and yeah, amongst a couple of others. I don't know what the situation is with Jesus. Hopefully White isn't too bad. But as I said earlier, the podcast, I'm not too worried about the defence at the moment. I think we've got more than enough cover in this situation. So yeah, firstly and foremost, hopefully as many of the players can come back from injury, so then we've got options. Very quickly, just touching on the Champions League, if we're going forward just a little bit, I hope we can just get the 3 points, and then maybe we can do a lot of rotation for the final couple of games. because we're going to have enough pressure with the Prem games.
Yeah.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be quite a congested month. So I hope we can get the win against Lens, and then we can just rest and rotate. I really do hope this. So that's that. As for Ramsdale, this is a hard one for me because I love the guy. There's, you guys know that's no secret on the WhatsApp group. I'm always kind of favouring him. I still feel look, I'm not in 1 ounce questioning Raya's ability. He's obviously a formidable keeper. All I've been saying, despite Ramsdale making errors or whatever it is, for me at the moment, there's not a great gulf between the keepers. That's my opinion. I'm not saying it's right. That's how I see it. And I just feel it's been a little bit unfair on him to be completely isolated. That is my thing. I felt bad for him, the fact that he was a massive component in us getting in the Champions League after 6 or 7 years or whatever it was, and then he doesn't even feature. I just felt the way his treatment was it was ruthless from Arteta, absolutely cutthroat. I would love him to stay, but I can't see it. I mean, I just think that I thought it would work. I think it was one of the podcasts right at the beginning of the season. It could have been this one. It could have been purely. I don't know which one it was. I said, why can't we break the mold? Why can't there be 2 number 1 keepers that can be interchanged and rotated? Blah blah blah. But obviously, Arteta's not doing that anyway. He's keeping Raya on for all the main games, and that being the case, as much as this kills me, probably for Ramsdale as an individual, it is probably best for him to move on, and we just stick with having a true number 1 and a true number 2.
Yeah.
But it really saddens me because I loved Ramsdale. I loved his energy. I loved the relationship he had with the team. I loved the fact that he used to wind up the fans when he was getting banter. He was giving it back. His celebrations when we would score. His interactions at the end of the game when we would win. I'm really sorry, but I don't quite see that much. I mean, Ray's a different personality completely. Almost the opposite of that. And I'm not faulting him or criticizing for it. But me, the way I am as a person, I love seeing that what Ramsdale offers in that. I love that passion. We know when Zinchenko gets really, come on. Even Jorginho gets involved, even when he's not playing. All of that I love because for me that brings that bonding of all the players together. Yeah. And I think Ramsdale is so important for that. But at the end of the day, it's what he does on the pitch. And at the end of the day, we have to always look at what's best for the club. And sometimes you have to give sentiment a bit of a miss. It kills me to say, but I think he'll. There's a very good chance he's going to go. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting what you said about Ramsdale's energy and the way he's got these links with the players. I'm trying to find my words tonight, but the way he kind of energizes that whole back line. But it could be. Because of it just spills over a little bit, and we've seen that happen last season on a couple of occasions. And I think Raya, obviously, as we can tell, Steve, he's a lot colder than Ramsdale in terms of his outward character. So he brings less chaotic instances. It seems maybe there has been a couple of instances where he's kind of he's been beaten, against Chelsea and stuff like that. With the crosses and obviously Newcastle. A lot of people don't talk about it, but if Ramsdale's in goal for that cross, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. He swats it away or he catches it or something like that. That doesn't happen. But maybe that's the angle that Arteta is looking at. Just maybe a little bit more composure at the back there. Where we can kind of control games. I'd love to see the numbers of time in possession for Raya and Ramsdale. I'd like to compare it because I'm sure Raya's. You've seen the time that he has the ball must be way up compared to Ramsdale because Ramsdale's very much boom, get it out. We saw some of the amazing passes he makes, but Raya seems a little bit more decisive, or he's more efficient in terms of what he does. But do you think that's going to be possibly his last game because we haven't got any other games to play, for him to come into, unless you take into account the PSV game. If we are through, in first place, because after that game, which would be a good reason for us to rest. After the PSV game, we've got Brighton at home, and then we have Liverpool away just before Christmas. Liverpool have a game in the we would have played Liverpool, funny enough, in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals if we'd have got through. So we would have played them 2 times in a row, which you don't want to do. We did that last season a couple of times, and that was horrible. But as Neil said, get through to win against Lens, then we can rotate. So do you feel maybe Brentford could be Ramsdale's last game for us? Maybe the PSG, probably most likely PSV game. What do you think?
I'm going to agree with Neil, and I hate to say it. I hope not. I hope not. Look, at the end of the day, Raya's on loan. And what I've had people go, but Ramsdale, we talked about some of these things where areas of improvement. Come on, Mike, we've got our assessor's hat on here. Areas of improvement, okay? Last season, he went through something that he shared with us at the beginning of this season in the summer, and that was a very, very difficult moment for him. But there was no number 2, and he stepped up. It's a difficult thing for any person to go through, and you wouldn't wish it upon anybody. And he went through it, and he turned up. It's difficult to focus all the time when something like that happens, and you can't just be with the person that you love and just want to comfort them and make sure that they're okay as well as looking after your own mental state as well. That's like Neil. That's one of the things that we as fans we don't hear about usually, and we don't get into those sort of things. But when these things are coming out and we are hearing about these things, it bonds us to a player because it's shared trauma. Okay, it's not first hand, but it's shared trauma. So you might say, oh yeah, I know somebody that's been through it as well, or I've been through it myself. So it's a shared trauma, and you become one of our own. I think, unfortunately, for his own ambitions, he'll want to go. I am kind of hopeful that Arteta will say to him, "Look, I'm giving him a long run here because I need to know that I need to know, hopefully, that I've given him an opportunity to say, yeah, I've given you long enough. I've given you big games. I've given you small games," and he has to judge it. At the end of the loan deal, Arteta could just go, yeah, no, you know what, I'm happy with Ramsdale. Ramsdale could come in for the Brentford game, for example, and pull off a commanding performance. And then, as Neil says, he goes into if we get a win in the Champions League as well, then he comes in for the last game and he gets that, and then he puts in another big performance and pulls off some good saves. He's also just had a child as well.
Yeah.
So he needs that time, and probably needs that time with his family and with his wife. And Arteta's probably just doing him a big favour and just going, look, I'm taking you out the spotlight. Have some time. I've got Raya in. He's a number 2. He's not taking your place, but I have to give him enough game time and confidence to be able to trust him in the team, if you see what I mean. I know there's talks about people saying that Arteta wanted him before Ramsdale and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. Listen, when Arteta said it himself when he first joined, when we come calling for you, you answer the door, or we see you later. And it is what it is, isn't it? So if we come calling for you and you chose not to, then it is what it is. Arteta's fair play to him. He's saying, I'll take a second look at it. I'll give it long enough. Ramsdale's got time to be with his family, no pressure. Just relax a little bit. I'll give this guy a long enough run, but just know for the second half of the season, I will give you those opportunities, and I will get you back in as number 1 for you to fight for your place. And then to say, you know what, Ramsdale's stuck with it. He accepted his place. He fought every day in training. He's come back and he's a better keeper for it. He's now a bit more calmer. His distribution is a bit more better. And being a father and going through that process as well for the first time for Ramsdale should hopefully, again, make him a bit more calmer, and that should translate for going forward. That's my hope. Okay, I'm a hopeful guy. But yeah, Neil's probably right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because then you've got to get a number 2 in if that happens, and Karl Heinz is the third choice, and I don't think you kind of want to put it on his shoulders if anything goes wrong with Raya in the second half of the season. So, yeah, unless you get somebody in. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But no, it's been a good week after the previous week, which was a bad one. So, reverse the results of a win in midweek and a win at the weekend. So, obviously, you've got the international break now. Gareth Southgate's going to obviously run Saka into the ground. Brazil are demanding that Jesus travels to their camp because they don't trust Arsenal's diagnosis that he's not fit enough to play, and they basically their coach, I think, said we don't believe the information we're being told by Arsenal. Wow. Okay, so there's that. So let's hope, fingers crossed. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's hope, fingers crossed, all our players come back in good shape, and then we hit the ground running. Obviously against Brentford, who we know we've got history with, and obviously after that, the run up to the Christmas fixtures, obviously we'll begin in earnest. But no, appreciate your time, gentlemen. Neil,
right,
and
can I just say one thing about Gabriel Martinelli? Yeah,
go ahead.
That guy is on fire right now. Like this guy is he's super hot. I know people will look at it and go, "Oh yeah, his end product." I don't think it's his end product. I think it's a lack of a centre forward in that position, because a lot of those balls, there's nobody attacking it. There's nobody in there attacking it, and he's put them into good areas, but there's nobody actually in there attacking it. With a proper centre forward, they attack it, and then they get an extra goal, and he gets more assists. I just wanted to mention that. And I don't know if you got a message from James and Paddy, father and son I met when I was at the Emirates. They said they might send you in a question. I don't know if they sent it in. Maybe send it in for the next one. But yeah, I think they might have said something about Martinelli as well. And it's the same sort of thing. His numbers would be higher if we had a proper centre forward. And I mean somebody that's just. I was looking at it, and I've joked with you before, Mike. And I said, oh yeah, someone like Kiefer Moore, but even Dominic Solanke for Bournemouth right now is he's doing bits, to be perfectly fair. So, but somebody, we need a striker. It won't happen in January because he wants midfielders. That's the Arsenal thing. Get midfielders in, and it's fine. But
nothing's come in yet on the question, but I'll keep an eye out for it. When they come in, so we'll add that on the next one. But yeah, thanks for the analysis, for your insight, gentlemen, as per usual. Brilliant stuff. We'll be back after the international break. I'm going to have a break, try to get my feet up. Kids are driving me mad with Christmas lists and everything already. So I might have to sell this laptop at this rate. So this might be the last joke of Arsenal Bible at this rate. And but no, it's been a great weekend as well. Obviously the neighbours getting slapped down and being brought back down to being, their chronic case of Spursiitis, which they have. It's come back, which is great to see.
Show the table, man.
You sure?
For the international break.
Yeah. Okay. Bear with me. Yeah. So great stuff this weekend, and I'm going to show the table because Neil has demanded it. So what Neil wants, he will get. So
bless you.
Show it there.
That's better.
Better to see us above them, of course. But yeah, just a goal difference with Liverpool. We played them obviously before Christmas.
If it was all correctly officiated, we would be joint top, wouldn't we? We'd be 28 points.
Yeah. Liverpool play City after the international break, so that's going to be a big one. Obviously, we've got Brentford, so there's a chance that they could drop points. Obviously, if they draw, and then we can sort of move ourselves into top. That would be good. But yeah, good to see. And we don't have to mention that team again being top. For
they were never top. You said that yourself.
Forever. And just to show again, where is it?
The DVD's in Poundland.
Can't find it. Yeah. Christmas special. Like Steve said, in Poundland, and all good charity shops. You'll find this. Probably chucking and giving away for free.
Charlton's goals.
Yeah, 28 games from Glory, bestseller, and available at all stockists, that one, and and fantastic stuff, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your Sunday evening.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks,
great rest of the
guys.
week. Thanks for everyone for watching and listening, and liking and sharing and subscribing. And we'll see you after the international break when we hopefully get more 3-point collecting against Brentford. So have a good night and come on, you Reds.
Man, remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately